I'm gonna teabag your ass. You ever teabagged anybody? You didn't? Have you? You know what it is though, right?
What?
So you get some just fucking passed out drunk, and then you put your balls on his forehead, and somebody takes a picture.
No shit.
Yeah, ain't that some fucked up shit?
I've mentioned it a few times, but I've never really gone into how much Halo means to me. Halo 2 was the first game I ever played on the family Xbox 360 back in 2006. Tangentially, we were on a family ski trip when my brother and I were given it, and then when we got back, my grandparents had already had the second game for the system waiting for me. Yeah, I don't really talk to my grandparents anymore. It was a big leap in the maturity for the kind of games that we played because everything else looked like this or this. So when I saw Chief gunning down grunts and elites with this intimate first-person camera, it was like a fresh new kind of video game had been hiding from me this whole time. That is until my mom heard a grunt call me a bastard and promptly told me I wasn't ever allowed to play it again. Halo 3 was where I became a bona fide fan of this franchise though. The amount of custom games that my cousins and I played together probably reaches somewhere into the thousands, and 3's campaign remained the golden standard for first-person shooter campaigns for a very long time. But then after the next Halo game, Reach, Bungie had fulfilled their contract with Microsoft, and feeling that the team was ready to make something other than Halo, they left to create Destiny. But after Bungie's departure, there was a void within Microsoft. They needed a team to continue their biggest franchise. Thus, 343 Industries was created. They would go on to make several spin-off games as well as the next mainline entries in the years to come. Critics and fans were initially satisfied with what 343 had spun the Halo franchise off into. Using more modern first-person shooter elements in Halo was novel at the time, but as the years went on, it started to feel more like they were diluting the formula with elements from competing franchises to rein in their audiences, instead of catering to longtime fans who fell in love with the series and its specific brand of action. Personally, I think Halo 4 is just fine. It's the Halo I'm least likely to return to given how confused its multiplayer feels a lot of the time, but I am an apologist for Halo 5's Spartan abilities and the direction its multiplayer took. It may have been focused a little too hard at the competitive scene, but I do love me some sweat when online multiplayer is concerned. But the elephant in the room for both games are their single-player offering. I'll save us both some time and just say what we both know. They're not the best. I'll explain a little bit more later in the video, but we need to move on. Then we start hearing about this new Halo game. Then we hear that there's probably going to be a grappling hook in the game. And then my memory gets a little fuzzy on the rest of the details. But anyway, now the game is here and I'm very late with this review, so let's not waste any more time. This is Halo Infinite. As we know, Halo campaigns up until this point have been point A to point B affairs. You make your way down wide but linear paths, completing objectives that usually include killing a certain amount of enemy units so that you can advance. Exploration has always been a big component, however. Halo level designers have always been great at rewarding your sense of curiosity, hiding powerful weapons off the beaten path that can be helpful in the upcoming situation. Halo Infinite forgoes the linear approach, however, opting for, yes, an open world that the player is free to explore at their own discretion. Now, we all know what an open world entails. The player is free to roam around and get into trouble as they see fit. There are larger enemies to kill that can reward the player with special variants of certain weapons if they can defeat them. There are forward operating bases, or FOBs, that act as Ubisoft towers, revealing the adjacent map as the player reclaims them while also creating fast travel checkpoints. There are Spartan cores that act as ability points for upgrading Chief's abilities. So, yeah, everything that you would come to expect from an open world is here, but that's more or less it. There's nothing that I would classify as innovative on display here, but I will stress it is fun, because this is really the first time Halo has attempted this, and I'd say it was a successful attempt. The way I see it is, the world they plop Chief into this time might be shiny and new with tons of things to see and find, but it's also years late to the party of open world games being exciting new concepts, because an open world isn't a novelty anymore. You can't throw a frag grenade without hitting at least 3. I had fun running around on Zeta Halo. Destroying the Banished and doing the errands that popped up on the map was novel, but it's not the reason I kept playing. What kept me going was the new brand of Halo combat that has ironically evolved. Like, comment, subscribe, please. Now, I could yell the words grappling hook at you, and that should be reason enough for you to immediately go run and download this game, but I should probably tell you a little bit more. The Halo formula is still the same at its core. Aiming for the head rewards faster kills, grenades are at the same time time the best thing ever and also horseshit, and you need to keep your melee finger itchy at all times. But these constants also come with their fair share of changes. Packaged with Infinite, a new era of Halo seems to be coming along for the ride. This means many things. Possibly the most heartbreaking is that several legacy weapons didn't make the initial cut. Plenty of my personal favorites, in fact. Of course, we still have the series staples they would be insane to leave out, like the sniper rifle and rocket launcher. Even got one hell of a new pistol in the form of the sidekick. The Hydra Launcher is an okay new explosion-based weapon, but not something I'm actively looking for in fights. The Commando is one that I want to like more. It feels like it should be a slower, stronger, more precise assault rifle, but instead it falls into a weird middle ground between the battle rifle and the assault rifle, where it's cool that it has reach, but it also never feels like it does enough damage. The Mangler is probably one of my favorite new additions. It shoots one shot at a time, but that shot can do some serious damage if placed correctly. We also have the Skewer, a giant metal spear launcher that does massive damage to vehicles if it connects, and of course it's going to hurt if you get another player with it. The Ravager is a plasma-based grenade launcher. The splash damage might not be the best, but it still hurts, and the Charge Shot fixes that issue by covering the ground in corrosive energy that tears through shields. The Stalker Rifle is one of those that I can't help but be hurt a little bit by. It basically covers the role of the Covenant Carbine, but with a cooldown instead of a reload requirement, and what feels like less damage output. The Disruptor is part of a new type of weapon called electricity weapons. If an electricity weapon sparks an enemy, any adjacent enemies will get hurt as well. Vehicles can also be disabled by this effect, taking away the role that the plasma pistol had up until this point. The Shock Rifle has to be one of my least favorite inclusions. I know it's useful in the right hands, but I have not had any luck using this thing as a long-ranged weapon. The Cinder Shot is the closest thing we have to a traditional grenade launcher. With shots that are able to ricochet off walls and ceilings, bank shots are incredibly satisfying to pull off with this one, but up close and personal fights aren't easily won. Oh yeah, the Heatwave is one of my new favorites. This long-range shotgun has ricocheting shots as well, and can change the direction of its shots too, being able to shoot horizontal or vertical waves. It's lethal when you can steady that vertical aim. Fusion coils can now be picked up and thrown at the player's discretion, which is fantastic. On top of being great damage dealers for vehicles, the splash damage is incredible for taking out groups of enemies. Plasma frag and spike grenades return and function as you remember, but new to the lineup are shot grenades. They bounce much more than any other type of grenade and send out arcs of electricity to damage the immediate vicinity, making them great for flushing out enemies. Finally, we have the equipment. Drop walls create a barrier that can be shot out of but not into. The repulsor is a fun one that sends a shockwave out in front of you that can send physics objects flying. It's great for returning hazards such as grenades to their sender and even launching other players to their doom. Oh, okay, somebody's got a sword.
Not anymore.
Elliott. The threat sensor will attach to anything including allies and send out waves that can reveal enemies through walls. The thrusters return from previous entries and function very similarly, great for moving in one direction very quickly. And then finally, there's the Grapple Shot. Probably one of the most intuitive grappling hooks I've ever used in a video game. It can be spammed if you didn't connect the first time. You can change your direction slightly by looking in different directions while swinging. After upgrading it in the campaign, it will refresh before you can even hit the ground, so you can do some serious Spider-Man stuff with it. It can be used to bring weapons over to you if it's unwise to try to get them yourself, board enemy vehicles with ease, and if I get my hands on a sword and a grapple shot at the same time, I enter my final form.
Idiot. Good. Get him, Ross.
He ran away.
Idiot.
Okay.
Idiot.
Ross, calm down.
Idiot.
I saved your ass, Ross.
Thank you. I said that I wish that elements from Halo 5 somehow made its way into Infinite in the Season 3 finale, and after upgrading the Grapple Shot, you can do this. This is the coolest thing ever. It's so much fun. Never make another Halo game without it, please. Now you might be thinking, if I liked so much of all the tools and options the player has at their disposal, why isn't this campaign the most amazing thing I've ever played? And that'd be easy. It's because that's all the campaign has. As I have said, playing the game is a decently good time. Everything else that props up the admittedly fun things you can do either feel artificial or inconsequential. My main issue with the campaign is the aimless feel of the conflict. In every other game we have a goal to complete for each mission, but here it doesn't feel like there's even any danger. When we get into this story, Chief has already lost to Atriox, and now Escharum can't help but feel like leftovers, along with Cortana and everything related to Halo 5. Guys, I get that you want to course correct from your missteps in Halo 5, but that game as a whole wasn't a dumpster fire. The way the narrative just jumps into a conflict that had no mention in the mainline games, except it still plays off of events that happened in the mainline games, makes it feel like we were a little too eager to hit the factory reset. The Guardians could have been such cool threats, but now they're gone with the wind like everything else. Echo 216, or the pilot that revives Chief, is such a non-entity as well. A gameplay mechanic first and a damsel in distress second. We have to rescue the Marines that are being held prisoner around the ring, but we really don't. They're just gameplay elements more than anything else this time around. There's nothing that moves any compelling narrative forward. The best thing that this story has going for it is the relationship between Master Chief and the weapon. Chief is the chattiest he's been in a while in Infinite. While some fans might scoff at a more vocal Master Chief, I welcome it. The loss of Cortana is visually weighing on him, leaving him emotionally vulnerable for the entire campaign. Knowing that his partner in crime for years was responsible for the death of thousands is taking a heavy toll on him, and then the bombshell is revealed that the weapon is a copy of Cortana before she went cuckoo, 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 and he had orders from the start to delete her if there were any signs that she could become trouble like Cortana did. And the growing trust issues between the two of them were the real driving force behind me playing. I was invested in finding out more about whether or not Chief's trust issues were justified. I wanted to know just how much he regretted not doing more to stop Cortana. This is peak Master Chief for me personally. His moments with Echo 216 and his moments with the weapon showed me a side of this character that's been, I don't want to say missing, but just not explored as much as I would like. His ability to be a leader.
Cannons first. When I get back, we can look together.
In every game, he takes orders and of course participates, but he doesn't really make any calls that aren't, which gun do I shoot the next alien with? But he has to be a part of a team this time, a team with members that are on equal footing, and that captivates me. If only there was something worthwhile for these characters to work towards while sorting out all of their baggage. Oh well. The campaign is scientifically engineered to hit you in the Halo 1 nostalgia bone as much as possible, but you can just feel the safeness as you play, like nothing was made too confusing or too out there. And as someone who didn't grow up with the first one, I feel comfortable calling it a worthy spiritual successor to the concept that arriving on Halo was back then. It takes the concept and obviously makes it more legitimate, but exploring an unknown Halo ring while finding little secrets and goodies has been brought up to date with modern technology, and it's awesome. Then we have multiplayer.
We're flying now.
It's great! I'm one of those sick individuals who likes the competitive side of multiplayer in most situations, so I like how fast and sweaty these matches tend to get. When I really need my fix, I have no problems jumping into a free-for-all match and taking home the win. But I think Halo is best at being a fun, laid-back multiplayer experience with friends.
Come here, f***ing bitch. Yeah, that was good. That was really good. I need to clip that. Hold on.
Playing Fiesta game modes is always a fun time to see what kind of randomized loadout you're given, and big team battles are a lot of fun as well. It's Halo Infinite as I love it, and the new items and equipment make the game so much more dynamic, especially when the Grapple Shot is thrown into the mix. But one thing that really stings is the fact that it's so difficult to customize the appearance of your Spartan. I know that this is how free-to-play multiplayer games have to operate now, but I still hate it. Would it really hurt that much to give players who own the game a few extra pieces of armor? The Master Chief Collection had it right with Halo 3 in making most of the game's base armor sets available as soon as you boot that game up. I know that 3 is much older than Infinite and people had already had time to unlock the armor from their many hours in that game, but why can we not get the same luxury in Infinite? And I'm not talking about the armor lockers you find in the campaign that give you little things like emblems and stuff. No, I want to have cool helmets and torso pieces. I understand that newer seasons will more than likely be adding these things in spades, but I can't help but worry that we'll still have to pay extra for cool items like we do now. That is, if we ever get them. Like, come on 343, where is the new content? Like I said, it's the model that Fortnite proved to be profitable, so now everyone is following in those footsteps. It's just disappointing to see a series that set trends of multiplayer customization in the past follow suit. That still doesn't change the fact that Halo Infinite is a remarkably solid game. I hope it does cement itself as a jumping point for a bright new era for this franchise. It's an incredibly safe product, no doubt about it. It was made to be an easy win for the Halo franchise. None of the weapons are too crazy, and even for how much I complained, the new ones are really just variations on old concepts. Fan favorite vehicles are the only ones to have returned. Making multiplayer free is a surefire way to get people's foot in the door and possibly create new fans. And probably most disappointingly, the campaign is interested in telling a story about Chief's struggles after Cortana's death, but is trying to pretend like the chapter involving her death didn't happen. Or at least was entirely irrelevant. This puts the continuity in a strange limbo that makes me nervous about the series going forward. I'm extremely hopeful, but nervous. The gameplay tweaks and new equipment system is great, and I'm excited to see where we go from here. And I would say that we can look forward to the next Halo game soon, but I highly doubt a new Halo game is in the near future. Especially if we're adopting this seasonal multiplayer model. Oh well, only time will tell when our next trip to Halo will be. Hey guys, big thanks for watching all the way to the end. I'm very thankful that you stuck around. And I am very happy to reassure you that we can all breathe a sigh of relief. I'm done with all of my new game and backlog obligations for now, so we can get some more original videos going. I was going to check out Kirby and the Forgotten Land whenever it comes out in a few days, but I played the demo and it's kind of like, you know, it's a kid's game, it's a Kirby game, it's fun, like it's a Nintendo game, it's gonna be good. It just seems like it's not really my cup of tea, and I don't really know what I could add to that conversation, but it looks like fun, so if that's your kind of thing, I would suggest going and getting it. But for this channel, the next time we meet, it'll be a more original and saucy video. So I hope you stay tuned. But anyway, I appreciate you for watching, so thanks for stopping by and have a great day.